zooming out and looking at the bigger picture. Like, will this 10-minute workout, while not perfect, is it going to help improve my overall life, my overall health? More than likely, the answer is going to be yes. Welcome to the Vibrantly You podcast. We're your hosts, Megan Martineau,
Caitlin Cipriano. In this podcast, we talk about fitness and nutrition on your motherhood journey. Whether you're trying to conceive, pregnant, postpartum, or beyond, you're welcome here.
Nothing is off limits, and our goal is to support you in this important season of life so that you can feel vibrantly you. As a reminder, this information is not medical advice. Please see the show notes for more details.
Welcome back to the Vibrantly You podcast. Today, we're going to talk about what to do when you fall behind on workouts. This is something that is super relatable. I relate to this. I know Megan relates to this. And especially as moms, it's something that can really just kill your motivation and derail progress. So we want to bring it up. Meg, let's have you kick this off.
Yes, so this is definitely something that happens to everyone at one point or another, and it can feel really defeating, especially if you have been on a roll with your workouts, you're feeling confident, you're feeling accomplished, you're like, yeah, go me, I'm doing this. And then something happens because life, and you fall behind. And whether that's just one workout you fall behind on, or there's like this domino effect, and then it's a whole week or 2 weeks or whatever, it can just be really challenging. And I find when this happens, it's just mostly a really big mental hurdle for people, and they can have a really hard time getting back into a consistent routine. And so then they either just fall off completely and are like, okay, well, I'll just wait until I have the capacity again, or start program hopping, trying to look for that next thing that's going to give them more motivation.
Yeah, I think the needing to just like constantly feel like you're relying on motivation is something that a lot of people struggle with. I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's really relatable. But I think, for me, especially in this like stage with two young kids, and for me personally, having like a struggling, like chronic pain piece with my SI joint, um, like the not being able to like keep up with what I want to do, like what I intend to do, is like a challenge. It's this like constant pull of like wanting to do that, be at like a physical capacity that I know my body has been in before, because I have been like an athlete for a good portion of my life. And it's like, I don't know, it's just like, yeah, like that tug of war. It's hard.
Yeah, and I like that you brought up too, just like pain, injury, because I think that's a big one for people and trying to like get back into it too and trying to like navigate like how do I do this while navigating this like chronic,
Yeah.
pain or discomfort that I'm dealing with. Like how do I continue to make this work for me without setting myself back, or like
Yeah.
impacting my healing. And I do think this can be a problem with like generic workout programs because they just don't take into account real life circumstances like pain, injury, pregnancy and postpartum, traveling, illness. They're usually designed to be completed in a set amount of time. So, you see a lot of workout programs that are like an 8-week program, a 12-week program. And so many times, obviously, people feel pressure to complete these programs in this timeline, right? So if you're starting a 12-week program, you're like, okay, I need to do this in 12 weeks. I need to stick to this schedule. And so when that doesn't happen, because inevitably something is going to come up in those 12 weeks, you feel like you're failing. And this is why I do talk a lot about individualized approaches, especially for pregnancy and postpartum, because those are two seasons where a lot of life happens. A lot of things come up that you're not anticipating, like pain. If you're pregnant, nausea, fatigue, pelvic pain, low back pain, maybe, something happens in your pregnancy, and you're advised to kind of back off from exercises for a week or two. I actually have a client that this just happened to. Like, she's good now, but her doctor, advised she kind of back off for a week. So like things happen, and especially postpartum, like maybe your baby is sick, or you're sick, or you get mastitis, or you're traveling, or you're not sleeping. Like there's so many things that can come up. And so this is why I like one-on-one training so much, why I'm biased to it, is because it's created for you and your life circumstances.
Yeah, I think that's so important for people to hear. I think maybe it's like this connotation around the word like program. And I think people feel like when they have like paid to work with a personal trainer or coach, that they're like going to be living in this like bubble, like, oh my gosh, I have to be like so to the T. And what I love about like the way that you and I both coach people is that it's not like that. Like, this is your real life. How we are like creating, the action items for you is to help you with the systems so that they fit into your life, not the other way around.
Exactly. And we talk mostly about pregnancy and postpartum here, and they are really demanding seasons of life. So trying to figure out how can you fit fitness and nutrition into this period of life that is chaotic, because it's chaotic,
Yeah.
in a way that's going to be doable and sustainable and going to support your life. And so I think the first thing to do is really address the mindset piece and this like all or nothing mentality that we are all, you know, we're all victim to this. And I think it's a problem in the fitness industry. And like if
Oh,
you are not
100%.
training for like a bodybuilding competition, the timeline doesn't matter. Like we are training for your real life. We are trying to improve health. Like whether or not you complete a program in 12 weeks or not, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't matter. That's obviously easier said than done. But trying to
Yeah.
like zoom out and look at the bigger picture, I think can be really helpful. Like, what are your long-term goals? Is it if you're, pregnant, is it to have less pain and discomfort as you move through your pregnancy? Is it that you want to stay active? You want to be able to lift your toddler as your pregnancy progresses? You want to have an unmedicated birth? Like what are your goals? A lot of times, completing a program in a set amount of time has nothing to do with achieving those goals, even postpartum. I mean, pregnancy is a little different because we're on a timeline of pregnancy, but even like for postpartum, like if your goal is to like have an active life where you can keep up with your kids, where if they run off on you on the playground, you can chase after them and catch them and pick them up. Like, do you want to hike with your family? Are you wanting to, you know, I don't know, even if you have aesthetic goals, like, is there a set timeline where you need to complete things? Likely no. We're just like thinking about your life long term. And so I think that can be really helpful too, like looking at what your actual goals are, zoom out, look at the bigger picture, and remembering that we're just aiming for consistency. Every little bit counts. And it's less of like being perfect and completing things when a schedule tells you to do so.
Yeah, and in the grand scheme of things, 12 weeks is such a short period of time. And so it is, I think we get caught up in that. And it really is helpful to zoom out and see that bigger picture, like you're talking about. So, how can we help people structure their workouts then in a way that is more flexible, especially for this season? Or how do we help make adjustments in a moment when like life is really getting to you? Life is lifing.
Yes. Life is lifing. Yes. So again, remembering to zoom out, look at the bigger picture. If you fall off, don't make it a big deal. I mean, again, easier said than done because you can be like, oh, Oh no, I fell behind. I need to catch up on this workout. Oh no, I'm 2 days behind. Like it becomes this like mental like pile up of like, I'm failing. I'm not doing that thing that I said I was going to do. Trying to let go of that is going to be helpful. And instead of trying to play catch up, or, I've seen people try to squeeze in like 2 workouts in one day to get back on track. Like, you don't need to do that. Just pick up where you left off and keep going. Or, if you missed a couple workouts, skip them. Don't go back and try to fit them all in. Like, just skip them and go to the next, day on your calendar and just pick up from there. Um, Even if you are following something that says like an 8 week program, it says that the workouts are 4 days a week, extend that calendar out. Like, you can look at your general calendar and be like, oh, look, I'm traveling this week for work. So rather than this being an 8 week program, I'm going to make it 9 weeks because I'm going to skip that week when I'm traveling because I just know I'm not going to have the capacity, to do my workouts that week. Like, just looking at things, if you see things on your calendar that are coming up and you're like, oh, that's going to be a hard time for me to work out, making that adjustment ahead of time, that can help mindset wise too, because you're like, oh, I already planned for this, I accounted for this. But then those things that come up, like you're sick or whatever happens, um, either just, you know, not worrying about workouts that you missed, picking up where you left off, or like I said, just like extending things. If you're not following like an actual program like that, um, just making the adjustments on your own can be really helpful. Like, just doing, if you're low energy one day, just doing like body weight workouts or just doing some stretching if you feel like you are still wanting to do some sort of movement, but whatever is on your schedule for a workout that day doesn't feel doable. Just making some little tweaks there can be really helpful. Another thing that I really like for people is front loading the week. So, motivation is typically higher on a Monday. People like to start their week out strong. So if you can get more workouts in the front half of the week, that can be really helpful. I actually have a client that does this because she has 2 kids at home, like she's working at home, she's got a lot going on. So she always tries to squeeze in her workouts like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If she can get those done, she's happy. She started off the week strong, even though, that means 4 days where you're off, that's okay. She still got her 3 workouts in for the week. So if you can front load your week, that can be really helpful too, because then if things come up, um, you already got your workouts in. And so you still have that feeling of accomplishment. Kind of in that same idea is also getting a workout in earlier in the day, because Caitlin and I were just talking about this actually before we hit record. But the end of the day, especially if you have little kids, can just get really chaotic. They're coming home from daycare or school, or even if you're a stay-at-home mom, like your spouse is coming home, like it's dinner time, like the dog needs to be just like things are happening. Kids are melting down typically that witching hour. So it's like you might have something planned for later in the day and like it's just not happening. So I think the earlier you can get in a workout too, the more likely it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I would agree 100%.
Yeah. And then also just doing something. Even if you have 5 minutes, take that 5 minutes, do a couple squats, just like do something. I was actually talking to a client last week who she was telling me that in her mind, if she does not have a full 60 minutes blocked out on her calendar, she's like, well, there's no point. I don't have time for a workout. So, even just trying to shift your mindset there of like, you don't need a full hour. Like, even if you just do 10 minutes, even 15 minutes, that's going to move the needle forward for you in terms of goals. It's still going to help with consistency. Kind of going back to that, like ditching the perfectionist mindset, just doing a little bit counts, especially in this chaotic season of pregnancy and postpartum. Doing those little things, it adds up. And then lastly, my last thing is having a minimum effective dose. I really love this. This is something that I learned from Jessie Mundell when I went through her postnatal fitness specialist certification course. But essentially, what it is you kind of sit with yourself. You can journal, just like think about your schedule, your life, your circumstances, whatever. But come up with the minimum amount of time that is needed for you to work out in a week to make progress towards your goals. Now, this is going to look different for everyone. This could be 2 10-minute workouts a week. It's like 20 minutes total. It could be just going for daily walks or walking every other day. For some people, it could be 4 60-minute workouts a week. Like, this is going to be very individual. It depends on you, your goals, your capacity. But taking time to think about this can be really helpful. And then essentially, this is your non negotiable. Like, you have to get this done in a week. So, kind of like you would block out important meetings on your calendar or like a doctor's appointment, something that like you're not going to move this. This is on your calendar, it's happening. That's what this minimum effective dose is. So, say it's the 2 10-minute workouts a week, and you put that on your calendar on Tuesday and Thursdays. It's happening at 10 a.m. Those are happening no matter what. And then like, okay, I got in my workouts this week. We're moving forward, we're progressing towards the goals. And then the nice thing is this is your minimum. So then say you have a week where you have more time, higher capacity, you can add stuff in. But if you keep that minimum effective dose in mind, then you're staying consistent over time and like moving the needle forward each week. So I really love that um, tool, I guess, to just stay more consistent and have something that feels doable.
I love that last one. That works really well for me. And I also do something similar with clients. I don't use the same like verbiage, I guess, but I have to block out specific times for exercise on my calendar too. Otherwise, it's really just easy, especially as someone who works from home and has kids, to like find something else that I could do, right? Like there's plenty of things that need to get done. But if I don't like specifically look at the day and the calendar to say, okay, this is when I'm going to like go walk, or, this is a day I'm doing a workout. Like it has to have a specific time, or it's just really easy to not do it. Um, and then also like having the non-negotiables, like coming up with these things that are really important to you. And they can be really simple, right? It's like they can be like those 10 minutes, or like one of your non-negotiables can be like, I need to make sure that like I drink water, like they don't have to be these like massive non-negotiables, but they're things that are again important to you that help move the needle forward on your goals.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's important to remember everything counts. I
Yeah.
really think it's like this perfectionist mindset that we don't even know that we're in half the time, that makes us feel like
Yes.
we are falling behind or not doing enough. Like, just remember that it all counts, it all adds up. I'll say this again, like zooming out and looking at the bigger picture. Like, will this 10-minute workout, while not perfect, is it going to help improve my overall life, my overall health? More than likely, the answer is going to be yes. And so, just doing a little bit when you can, really impactful. Um, and not worrying so much about being perfect or finishing things on a timeline because there's no such thing.
I love that. I love that. And I think this was such a, again, great episode that does allow people to work towards making some of those like mind shifts while also having some great like little nuggets, little action steps that can help you continue to move forward so that you're not feeling like you're like falling behind, or like people always use that like falling off the wagon term, which I hate. It's like you didn't
Mm-hmm.
fall off the wagon, like you just missed a workout, or like you, you know, whatever. But like just, forgive yourself. It's okay. Just move forward. Try to keep working towards being better with it. So if you found this helpful, please feel free to share this with a friend. And I think, again, this is relatable for so many people, especially in this season. And next week, Meg and I, the next couple episodes are going to be kind of like part two of our birth story series with our second babies. So if you are into that kind of thing, stick around. We'll be sharing those in the next upcoming episodes.